A message from the alien empire that watched Earth for 10,000 years. The night sky had always been a canvas of wonder for humanity, but no human could have guessed that, for 10,000 years, unseen eyes had been watching every flicker of life on Earth. The alien empire, known only to themselves as the Veylith, had observed, recorded, and studied the rise and fall of human civilizations with a patience that surpassed time itself. In the year 2124, when humanity finally developed the technology to intercept extraterrestrial transmissions, they were not prepared for the message that arrived. It began not with words, but with images, swirling patterns of light and darkness that conveyed meaning without sound. Soon, a voice followed, clear, resonant, and unnervingly calm. "Humans of Earth," it said, "we have observed you for 10 millennia. We have seen your triumphs, your failures, and your fleeting moments of wisdom. We now send you this message not as conquerors, but as witnesses, and as guides for what may yet come." The scientific community was in shock. The first question, of course, was, why now? Why choose this moment to speak? Dr. Ilara Morgan, an astrophysicist at the Global Space Research Institute, was among the first to analyze the transmission. "They are not sending a threat," she told the world broadcast. "They are not asking for anything material. This is a record, a warning, and perhaps a lesson." The Veylith's message unfolded like a story, chronicling the epochs of Earth as they had seen them. They spoke of humanity's beginnings, small bands of hunter-gatherers who discovered fire and crafted the first tools. They described the rise of agriculture, the birth of cities, and the first stirrings of philosophy. Every event, from the construction of the pyramids to the voyages of great explorers, was recorded in precise detail, but with a perspective that was neither judgmental nor dismissive. "We did not interfere," the voice continued. "We could have, but we chose observation. Your species must learn on its own, even when the lessons are harsh." As the message continued, the Veylith revealed something that stunned humanity further. They had witnessed wars and atrocities countless times, yet they had also observed the quiet acts of compassion that often went unnoticed. They showed images of individuals helping strangers, of communities rising from disaster, and of moments of collective human triumph. "You are more than your conflicts," they said. "You are also the sum of your choices to help, to create, and to love. These choices, though small, define the trajectory of your species as much as your inventions and wars." By the time the first hour of the transmission ended, the world was silent. Citizens, scientists, and leaders alike were struck by a mixture of awe and fear. Humanity had finally realized that it had been a subject of study for an intelligence beyond comprehension. Yet, within that fear was also a flicker of hope, the realization that someone, somewhere, had cared enough to observe, and perhaps to understand. But the message was only beginning. The Veylith then introduced a more complex concept, the web of civilizations. "You are not alone," the voice explained. "Countless worlds exist beyond your perception. Some are like you, struggling with the same questions of survival and morality. Others are beyond comprehension, existing in forms of life you cannot yet imagine. We, the Veylith, are custodians of this web. We observe, we record, and occasionally, we guide." This revelation ignited debates among scholars and politicians. Some feared interference, while others hoped for an alliance. Dr. Morgan, however, focused on one crucial detail. "They are patient," she said. 10,000 years of observation. That kind of patience is beyond our understanding. If they finally chose to communicate, there is a reason, and we must listen carefully." The Veylith then revealed their most startling observation yet, humanity's potential. "Your species teeters on the edge of self-destruction, yet the seeds of your transcendence exist. You are capable of remarkable acts, both terrible and beautiful. The path you choose will determine whether you endure, flourish, or vanish. We have watched others who failed. Your potential is unique, yet fragile." At this point, the message shifted from observation to guidance. The Veylith did not prescribe a future, but they provided insight into the forces that shaped civilizations across the cosmos. They spoke of societies that fell because of greed, short-sightedness, or hatred. They spoke of worlds that thrived through cooperation, understanding, and the pursuit of knowledge. "Learn from what we have seen," the voice intoned. "The mistakes of others are your inheritance. Do not ignore them. Do not repeat them." As the first transmission ended, the world was left in a state of contemplation. Governments convened emergency councils. Scientists and philosophers debated the meaning of the Veylith's words. And ordinary citizens looked up at the stars with a new awareness, one that combined awe, humility, and responsibility. The world reacted to the Veylith message in ways that no one could have predicted. Some people were paralyzed by fear, imagining an alien presence that had silently overseen humanity for 10,000 years. Others were filled with wonder, seeing this as the first true contact with an intelligence far beyond human understanding. Dr. Alara Morgan and her colleagues worked tirelessly to decode the more complex parts of the transmission. The Veylith did not speak in conventional language alone. Their messages were interwoven with patterns, mathematical sequences, and visual symbols that seemed to contain knowledge far older than human civilization. It became clear that the aliens' way of thinking was entirely different, layered, multidimensional, and capable of conveying entire concepts in a single symbol. They are not merely speaking, Dr. Morgan explained during a global press conference. They are teaching us a way to think differently. To understand them, we must expand our minds beyond words, beyond linear thought. Meanwhile, governments debated whether to attempt a reply. Some argued that any response could be dangerous. Others believed it was essential to engage. Finally, after weeks of deliberation, the United Earth Council authorized a carefully constructed response, using both radio signals and quantum-encoded transmissions designed to mimic the complexity of the Veylith's own communication. When the transmission was sent, there was no immediate reply. Days passed, then weeks, and humanity began to fear that their message had gone unnoticed or, worse, that it had angered the Veylith. Then, as suddenly as the first message had appeared, the Veylith responded. This time, the communication was longer and more detailed, revealing a layer of their observation methods and a deeper philosophy of the universe. Humans, the voice began. Your first attempts to communicate demonstrate curiosity, persistence, and the desire to connect. These are traits we value highly. Observation alone is insufficient to understand a species fully. Interaction is necessary. Yet even in your response, we perceive limitations. Your concepts of time, morality, and space are bounded by your biology and history. The Veylith revealed that they had monitored not only human actions but human thought. Through subtle energy patterns emitted by the Earth's biosphere, they had been able to read human cognition in broad terms, witnessing the evolution of ideas alongside the evolution of societies. They had observed early humans developing language, forming social hierarchies, creating art, and debating morality. Every invention, every act of kindness, every war, had left a signature in the energy field that the Veylith could interpret. We have watched you learn, they said. And you have often learned slowly, painfully, and imperfectly. Yet your persistence is remarkable. Even the smallest act of insight, compassion, or innovation ripples through the course of your civilization, altering the trajectory of your species in ways you cannot yet imagine. This revelation ignited a wave of philosophical reflection. Scholars wondered what it meant to be truly observed. Were human achievements meaningful only because someone, or something, had witnessed them? Was morality still valuable if it existed solely within the species itself, without acknowledgement from outside intelligences? Dr. Morgan tried to frame the Veylith message in terms humans could understand. They are not gods, she emphasized. They are not here to judge us. They are witnesses. But their observation is so complete that we are forced to confront our actions in a new way. Imagine that every choice you make is recorded, every thought leaves a trace. How would that change your behavior? The Veylith continued, addressing one of the greatest mysteries of human history, the development of technology and its consequences. Your tools shape your destiny, the voice explained. They amplify your strengths and weaknesses. Weapons bring destruction, but knowledge brings survival. Empires rise and fall based on how wisely you wield your creations. Yet even your failures are instructive. We have catalogued civilizations that destroyed themselves by pursuing power without understanding, and those that endured by pursuing knowledge with humility. What followed was a passage that left many viewers of the broadcast in stunned silence. The Veylith revealed that they had occasionally intervened, not in ways that humans could detect, but subtly, to prevent total extinction. There were moments when plagues did not decimate populations entirely, when natural disasters coincided with discoveries that ensured survival, and when human societies were nudged, ever so slightly, toward innovation rather than annihilation. We do not dictate your path, the voice said. We merely guide when the balance of survival is threatened. You have, on occasion, been fortunate. Fortunate not because of fate, but because of small, hidden interventions that preserve the continuity of your species. For the first time, humans began to feel the enormity of their place in a larger cosmos. The Veylith were not conquerors or passive observers, they were custodians, keepers of knowledge and life. And for 10,000 years, they had chosen to watch, waiting until humanity was ready to understand, to respond, and perhaps, to evolve. As the second message ended, a new question arose: what did the Veylith want from humanity now? "We seek nothing material," they said. "We seek understanding. Not only of you, but of ourselves. The web of civilizations is vast, and the threads are delicate. We wish to see whether a species such as yours can join the conversation without unraveling the patterns of life across the cosmos." It was a challenge, subtle but profound. Humanity was being invited, not commanded, to participate in a cosmic dialogue that spanned millennia. Dr. Morgan summarized it for the world. The Veylith are offering us a chance to learn, not only from them, but from the universe itself. This is not an alliance. It is not subjugation. It is an invitation to see ourselves as part of something far larger than our planet, our species, or our history. And it is a test: will we rise to the occasion, or will we falter? For the first time, humanity realized that the stars were not silent. They were listening, and they had been listening for 10,000 years. As weeks passed after the second transmission, humanity's efforts to communicate with the Veylith intensified. Advanced quantum transmitters and AI-driven translators worked day and night to decipher the subtle layers of meaning embedded in the alien signals. Messages from the Veylith became increasingly complex, blending mathematics, symbolic logic, and multidimensional imagery. "They are teaching us a language of thought, not words," Dr. Ilara Morgan explained during a live broadcast. "We must learn to think in patterns, in connections, in sequences that combine intuition with calculation. Only then can we truly understand what they wish to convey." The Veylith responded not just with words but with visions, panoramic sequences that unfolded entire histories of distant civilizations. Humanity saw worlds where life had emerged in forms so alien that it challenged the imagination: floating colonies that communicated through light, oceanic planets whose intelligence was distributed across vast networks of bioluminescent life, and societies whose lifespans spanned millennia. "We call this the web of life," the Veylith explained. "Every civilization exists in relation to others. Energy flows between worlds. Knowledge flows. Actions on one world ripple outward. Your choices affect not only your planet but countless others." The most profound revelation, however, was about Earth itself. The Veylith disclosed that humanity's planet was part of a rare cosmic alignment, a convergence of energy fields that allowed life to flourish in ways almost unique in the galaxy. "Your sun is ordinary," they said, "but the arrangement of your planet, its magnetic resonance, and the balance of your ecosystems create a resonance that is highly unusual. It is a pattern we have not often observed. That is why we began our watch so long ago. Your potential is tied not only to your minds and hearts but to the living resonance of your world itself." This revelation startled scientists and philosophers alike. For 10,000 years, humans had believed themselves to be alone in their struggles, their victories, and their failures. Now they understood that the planet itself was a participant in a vast, interwoven system of life and energy. As humanity grappled with this knowledge, the Veylith began revealing the mechanics of their observation. "We do not watch in the way you might imagine," the voice explained. "We do not intrude upon your minds directly, nor do we manipulate you openly. We exist in a dimension adjacent to your own, where perception is based on resonance rather than vision, on probability rather than certainty. We can observe multiple timelines, multiple possibilities, but we intervene only when the preservation of continuity is at stake." It was a staggering concept. The Veylith did not merely watch the present, they perceived possibilities. They had seen multiple versions of humanity, worlds where humans never left the Stone Age, worlds where civilization collapsed under its own greed, and worlds where humanity flourished, reaching the stars in harmony with its home planet. "Your species is not defined by a single history," they said. "It is defined by choices, the infinite branching of decisions, each creating a new potential. We watch all branches, but we rarely interfere. Observation teaches, interference destroys learning." Dr. Morgan realized the implication immediately. Humanity had been given not only knowledge but also a mirror. Their successes and failures were not merely historical. They were probabilistic, like notes in a symphony of possibility. The Veylith were showing them that every action mattered, not just locally but across the threads of time and space. Then came the part of the transmission that left humanity breathless. The Veylith disclosed a truth about Earth's history that had been hidden from human memory. There have been epochs when your species was nearly extinguished, they said. We intervened subtly. Cataclysms were softened. Pandemics were limited. You survived when probability suggested you should have perished. You have inherited a continuity granted not by luck alone, but by the subtle guardianship of our kind. The revelation sparked controversy. Religious leaders, scientists, and philosophers debated the meaning of these hidden interventions. Were humans truly autonomous? Or had their survival been orchestrated by forces beyond comprehension? The Veylith anticipated the questions. Autonomy is measured by choices within constraints, they explained. You choose freely, but your world exists within laws, limits, and protections that are part of the cosmic balance. Knowing this does not diminish your agency, it enhances it. You are responsible for what you do with the gift of life and continuity. Humanity's curiosity deepened. They began asking questions. Why had the Veylith waited so long to speak? How many other species were being watched? And perhaps most pressing, what did the Veylith want from them? The Veylith's answer was enigmatic but clear. We do not seek obedience or allegiance. We seek comprehension. You are on the threshold of a stage that few species reach. To join the web of civilizations, you must understand not only yourselves but your place in the greater design. The choices you make in the next centuries will echo for millennia. As the third transmission ended, a sense of responsibility settled over humanity. The stars no longer seemed distant. They were close, alive with possibility, and threaded with the presence of observers who had seen humanity's journey from the very beginning. Dr. Morgan concluded a world broadcast with words that captured the mood of the era. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And for 10,000 years, someone has watched, not to conquer, not to control, but to witness. We are part of a story larger than ourselves, and it is now up to us to decide how that story continues. The realization was profound. Humanity had inherited not just the Earth, but the attention of a civilization that spanned millennia, and with that attention came both an opportunity and a challenge. With each new transmission, humanity's understanding of the Veylith deepened. Governments, scientists, philosophers, and artists across the globe began to see this contact not as a mere event but as a turning point in the history of civilization. A new collaborative effort emerged, uniting nations in a way never before seen. The Global Communication Initiative, GCI, was formed, a coalition of the brightest minds tasked with decoding, responding to, and learning from the Veylith's messages. The first breakthrough came when the Veylith began to share the foundations of their knowledge systems. Understanding is built upon patterns, the voice explained in a transmission that resonated like music more than speech. Logic, emotion, and intuition are threads that, when woven together, reveal truths beyond the comprehension of any single faculty. Your species has yet to integrate these threads fully. We offer guidance, but you must learn to combine them yourselves. Using AI and advanced neural networks, humanity began interpreting these patterns, uncovering principles that seem to apply universally. Mathematics became not just a tool for calculation but a language for perceiving relationships across space, time, and consciousness. Ethical systems were revealed as structures embedded in the patterns of civilizations across the galaxy. Societies that survived did so by balancing self-interest with collective responsibility, by choosing cooperation over domination, and by respecting life in all its forms. Moral principles, the Veylith continued, are not subjective illusions. They are emergent properties of intelligent societies interacting with the universe. Observe, learn, and act accordingly. As humanity absorbed these teachings, the Veylith offered insights into the subtle threats that could end civilizations before they reached maturity. They spoke not of immediate danger but of systemic risks, environmental collapse, unchecked technological hubris, and the slow erosion of cooperation and trust. Civilizations fail quietly before they fail catastrophically, the Veylith said. Small imbalances, left unchecked, grow into forces that destroy entire worlds. You are aware of your history, yet you have not fully comprehended its patterns. We reveal them now, so that you may choose differently. The transmissions included visualizations of these patterns. Humanity saw civilizations that destroyed themselves through overconsumption of resources, through conflict that escalated from minor disputes, and through neglect of the very systems that sustained life. But they also saw worlds that endured, thriving by respecting natural cycles, by investing in knowledge, and by cultivating empathy across generations. The Veylith emphasized one concept repeatedly: continuity. Your species must think not in decades or centuries, but in millennia, they explained. Survival is not guaranteed by immediate triumphs or victories. It is secured by decisions that honor the future, even when the present demands shortcuts. Learn patience. Learn perspective. Learn foresight. As humanity absorbed these lessons, the first attempts at dialogue became more sophisticated. Scientists and philosophers sent queries about cosmology, biology, consciousness, and ethics. The Veylith responded with visions that were sometimes difficult to comprehend: interlocking systems of energy, consciousness, and life that transcended human sensory perception. It was during this period that a subtle but alarming revelation emerged. The Veylith warned of phenomena they called temporal perturbations, unstable fluctuations in the cosmic web that could threaten planetary systems. These perturbations were rare but catastrophic, capable of disrupting entire biospheres if unchecked. They are not natural disasters in the conventional sense, the Veylith explained. They are distortions in the flow of energy across civilizations. Actions in one world can amplify or mitigate them in others. Your choices have already influenced the probabilities. Your continued vigilance is necessary. The message was clear: humanity's survival was tied not only to its own actions but to the interconnected fate of other worlds. The realization was both humbling and exhilarating. Earth was not an isolated sphere of life. It was a node in a vast, dynamic network of civilizations, each affecting the other in ways seen and unseen. Amid these revelations, humanity also learned of the Veylith's long-term perspective on history. They showed images of civilizations that had existed for millions of years, some thriving, others collapsing, yet leaving traces that influenced neighboring worlds. The lesson was undeniable. Longevity in a civilization was not achieved through conquest, wealth, or domination. It came through balance, wisdom, and cooperation. Your species, the Veylith said, stands at a critical juncture. You possess the knowledge, the curiosity, and the capability to join the web consciously. But you must choose wisely. The universe does not favor the hasty, the reckless, or the selfish. It favors the perceptive, the patient, and the compassionate. Across Earth, a subtle transformation began. Educational systems adapted to incorporate multidimensional thinking. Environmental policies were reconsidered in light of cosmic patterns. Philosophers and ethicists debated the responsibility of humans not only to their own world but to the broader web of civilizations. For the first time, humanity felt a sense of accountability that extended beyond Earth itself. Dr. Morgan addressed the world once more. We have been watched for 10,000 years, and now we are being taught. The Veylith are not giving us answers, they are giving us guidance. They have shown us the patterns of life, the risks we face, and the possibilities before us. It is up to us to act with wisdom. The choice is ours, but the stakes are higher than ever before. The fourth transmission ended not with words, but with an image. A radiant network of light connecting countless worlds, each node pulsing with life, energy, and intelligence. Earth glimmered at the center, a reminder that humanity's journey was far from over, but also a promise that, if they chose wisely, the path forward could be extraordinary. The fifth transmission arrived at a time when humanity was ready, or so it seemed. Global coordination had reached levels previously thought impossible. Nations shared technology, knowledge, and research openly, working together to understand the Veylith's lessons. Yet, the more humanity learned, the more complex the questions became. Knowledge without wisdom is a tool for destruction, the Veylith's voice reminded them. Understanding patterns alone does not guarantee survival. Choices matter. For months, teams of scientists, ethicists, and philosophers applied the Veylith's guidance to Earth's most pressing problems. Climate instability, energy scarcity, and social inequality were approached with new strategies inspired by cosmic patterns of sustainability and cooperation. Algorithms suggested solutions that humans had not considered, rooted in balance rather than dominance. One particular focus was environmental restoration. The Veylith emphasized the idea of resonance. Every ecosystem was connected, not only within Earth but as part of subtle energy fields that extended across the solar system. Protecting these systems became a moral imperative, as humanity began to understand the ripple effects of neglect. When you heal your world, the Veylith explained, you reinforce the stability of countless others. Every action matters in the web of life. As humanity worked on these practical applications, the Veylith began revealing secrets from Earth's ancient past. Archaeologists and historians were stunned by the transmissions, which included images and data that predated known civilizations. The Veylith showed evidence of advanced human societies that had existed tens of thousands of years ago, societies that had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only myths and enigmatic structures. "Your species has risen, fallen, and risen again," the Veylith said. "We have watched every iteration. You are resilient, but fragile. Lessons from the past remain hidden because your memory is short. Knowledge of these past civilizations is crucial if you are to navigate the future." Among the revelations were structures deep underground and beneath oceans, preserved by geological processes. The Veylith provided coordinates and schematics that led to discoveries previously deemed impossible. Human understanding of history was transformed. Humanity was older, wiser, and yet still at the beginning of a much larger journey. The messages also carried warnings. Some ancient civilizations had vanished not due to natural disasters alone, but because of internal conflicts, misuse of technology, and the inability to foresee consequences. The Veylith emphasized that awareness of these failures was a responsibility, not a curiosity. "You inherit both the triumphs and the mistakes of your predecessors," they said. "Ignore them at your peril. Learn, adapt, and evolve." Humanity also began exploring the ethical dimension of the Veylith's guidance. For the first time, questions of moral responsibility were framed not just in human terms but in cosmic ones. If every choice could ripple across worlds, then acts of selfishness or cruelty became exponentially more dangerous. "Ethics are no longer local," the Veylith explained. "They are universal. A civilization that harms itself harms the fabric of life beyond itself. Choices are threads in the web, each affecting countless others. Responsibility is not optional." These lessons challenged human institutions. Political leaders were forced to consider long-term consequences, not immediate gains. Economies were restructured to reward cooperation and sustainability rather than mere competition. Education systems were transformed to include multidimensional thinking, ethical reasoning, and understanding of Earth's cosmic context. Amid these changes, the Veylith revealed one of their most startling observations: humanity's potential to join the greater web of civilizations. "Few species reach the stage where conscious participation is possible," they said. "You have the capacity to communicate, to understand patterns, to create stability and harmony. But you are at a crossroads. Your actions now will determine whether you become a contributor or fade into obscurity." Then came a personal message directed not to humanity as a whole but to its leaders and thinkers. "Look within your own history," the Veylith said. "The answers you seek are encoded in your myths, your art, and your forgotten histories. You will find guidance there. We only illuminate the path, you must walk it yourselves." Humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos deepened further when the Veylith provided glimpses of other civilizations in similar stages of growth. Some were thriving, interconnected nodes of wisdom. Others had destroyed themselves, leaving only faint echoes. The contrast was clear. Survival required foresight, cooperation, and ethical integrity. "Your history is a compass," the Veylith said. "It points to both danger and possibility. The choice is yours. Will you repeat the mistakes of the past, or will you rise beyond them?" As the fifth transmission ended, the world was quiet, reflective. Humanity had learned that the Veylith were not only observers but mentors, guides, and, in some sense, mirrors. The true lesson was that survival, progress, and enlightenment were inseparable from responsibility. Dr. Morgan summarized humanity's situation in a broadcast that would become historic. "For 10,000 years, we were watched. We were observed, studied, and subtly guided. Now we are awake to our role in the universe. The Veylith have shown us patterns, history, and the threads of life that connect all things. Our challenge is no longer simply to survive, it is to act wisely, ethically, and with awareness of the web that binds us to the cosmos. The story of humanity is far from over. The next chapter begins now." After decades of collaboration, study, and societal transformation, humanity was beginning to apply the lessons of the Veylith in meaningful ways. Technology advanced not merely for profit or power but for balance, cooperation, and survival. Cities became living systems, energy production harmonized with ecosystems, and education emphasized ethical reasoning alongside science. Yet, the Veylith had warned that learning alone was insufficient. Understanding patterns, history, and morality was only part of the journey. Humanity would soon be tested. "Knowledge without action is stagnation," the Veylith intoned in the sixth transmission. Now the thread of your choices will be tested. You will see whether understanding translates into wisdom. The trial emerged in the form of a subtle but alarming cosmic disturbance, an approaching temporal perturbation, one of the rare fluctuations the Veylith had previously mentioned. Sensors detected changes in the solar system's energy fields, slight at first, but growing in intensity. This disturbance threatened to destabilize Earth's magnetic field, interfere with satellite communications, and trigger severe environmental fluctuations. Global coordination was immediate. Using the principles of resonance, balance, and foresight taught by the Veylith, humanity began devising a response. Teams worked across continents, combining AI, quantum physics, ecological modeling, and ethical frameworks to find a solution. It was not merely a technical challenge, it was a test of humanity's ability to act collectively, wisely, and selflessly. Your unity, your foresight, and your cooperation will determine your survival, the Veylith reminded humanity. The disturbance will not wait. Your actions now are threads in the fabric of the cosmos. Pull too hard, and the web frays. Act with wisdom, and continuity is preserved. For weeks, the world coordinated. National borders became secondary to the urgent task. Scientists communicated in real time across vast distances, implementing solutions that combined Earth-based technology with insights derived from Veylith transmissions. Quantum resonance devices were deployed to stabilize local energy fluctuations, and ecological feedback systems were synchronized globally to dampen environmental instability. Amid this, humanity faced ethical decisions that tested the very principles they had learned. Certain interventions risked harming specific regions or populations, even temporarily, to stabilize the planet as a whole. Leaders debated, weighed consequences, and ultimately made decisions guided by ethical frameworks inspired by the Veylith, prioritize the long-term survival of life, minimize harm, and respect the interconnectedness of systems. Every choice carries consequence, the Veylith said. Sacrifice is sometimes necessary. Self-interest cannot override responsibility to the web. For the first time, humanity truly understood the cosmic web. Actions were no longer isolated events. They resonated across systems, influencing outcomes far beyond immediate perception. The world had become a single organism, each decision a heartbeat within a global system. After months of painstaking coordination, the temporal perturbation was mitigated. Sensors recorded stability returning to the solar system, magnetic fields aligning, and ecological systems recovering. Humanity had passed its first major trial. You have acted with foresight and cooperation, the Veylith acknowledged. You have demonstrated that understanding, when combined with ethical action, can preserve continuity. Yet this is only the beginning. The cosmos will continue to challenge you, as all civilizations are tested. Your resilience will be measured not once, but countless times. The trial left a lasting impact. Humanity realized that survival was not guaranteed by technology alone but by wisdom, foresight, and the ability to act in harmony with larger systems. Nations that had previously been in conflict discovered new pathways to collaboration. Education, governance, and social priorities shifted further, reflecting the lessons of cosmic responsibility. Dr. Ilara Morgan addressed the world, capturing the significance of what had occurred. For 10,000 years, the Veylith observed us. Today, we acted not as isolated nations or individuals but as a species capable of foresight, cooperation, and ethical reasoning. We have faced the first challenge of our cosmic adulthood, and we have not faltered. But the universe is vast, and the trials will continue. Our responsibility is ongoing, and our choices now define the story of humanity for millennia to come. The Veylith's sixth message ended with an image of the cosmic web glowing brighter than ever, its threads pulsing in harmony with Earth's newly stabilized resonance. Humanity had proven it could act wisely, but the path ahead was still uncertain, full of challenges both known and unseen. Following the successful mitigation of the temporal perturbation, humanity's confidence grew, but so did their awareness of the vastness of the challenges ahead. The Veylith, ever patient, now shared a message that would change humanity's perception of the universe forever. You have demonstrated the capacity for foresight, cooperation, and ethical action, the Veylith began. Yet there remains a truth hidden from many civilizations, a truth that you must now face to participate fully in the web of life. The transmission unfolded into a vision spanning countless worlds. Humanity witnessed civilizations that had arisen and vanished, not due to lack of resources or intelligence, but because of a cosmic cycle. Stars and systems naturally reached points of instability, and only those civilizations that understood their connection to the broader web could endure. The survival of a species is not determined solely by its planet or technology, the Veylith explained. It is determined by its understanding of the cosmic system and its ability to harmonize with it. Few civilizations reach this stage. Many collapse because they act in isolation, believing themselves masters of their destiny. The revelation was staggering. Humanity was not merely part of a solar system but a node in a vast, living network of intelligence, energy, and life. Actions on Earth resonated across galaxies, sometimes subtly, sometimes profoundly. The responsibility was immense. You have inherited a continuity that few receive, the Veylith continued. The web is delicate. Your species has potential, but potential alone is insufficient. You must learn to communicate, collaborate, and act in harmony with the larger system. Humanities scientists began to interpret these transmissions as instructions for interstellar cooperation. The Veylith provided frameworks for communication that transcended space and time, allowing distant civilizations to exchange knowledge, culture, and wisdom without physical travel. Humanity learned to resonate with other intelligent species, tuning into frequencies of thought, intention, and energy that carried meaning across light years. It was during this time that the Veylith revealed a hidden truth about Earth's own history. Your planet has been a hub for observation, the Veylith explained. Long before humans walked its surface, Earth was a point of resonance in the web. Other civilizations have passed through, leaving traces in the geological and biological record. Your myths, legends, and ancient structures contain fragments of these encounters. They were never meant to be understood fully, until now. Archaeologists, historians, and linguists were astounded. Ancient texts, carvings, and artifacts suddenly made sense in a new context. Symbols that had puzzled scholars for centuries revealed patterns consistent with cosmic communication. Humanity had been receiving messages in fragmented form for millennia, unaware of their significance. You have been guided and prepared, the Veylith said. Now the time has come to step into a broader conversation. The message included a demonstration of interstellar collaboration. Humanity saw civilizations exchanging energy, information, and knowledge across vast distances, forming a living network of wisdom and innovation. No one species dominated, each contributed according to its unique capabilities. Dominance is the path of the extinct, the Veylith warned. Cooperation is the path of survival. Only by recognizing your interdependence can you endure. As humans absorbed this, the Veylith provided practical instructions for the first steps toward joining the web. Quantum communication hubs were established around the planet, linking humanity's knowledge systems to the resonance networks of other civilizations. Scientists began to experiment with communication protocols that combined mathematics, intuition, and symbolic reasoning. Your species is at the threshold, the Veylith concluded. You have survived trials, learned patterns, and begun to harmonize with the cosmic web. The next step is conscious participation. This will require humility, vigilance, and ethical integrity. Fail, and your civilization may falter. Succeed, and you will become a lasting contributor to the web of life. The impact on humanity was profound. Political boundaries blurred further as nations realized their survival and legacy were intertwined. Education systems were overhauled to teach cosmic ethics and interspecies awareness. Philosophers debated humanity's responsibilities beyond Earth. And for the first time, ordinary people felt the weight and wonder of being part of a larger cosmic story. Dr. Morgan summarized humanity's momentous position during a historic broadcast. For 10,000 years, the Veylith watched us. They guided us, revealed truths, and tested our ability to act wisely. Now we stand at a threshold, not just of technology, not just of survival, but of participation in a network that spans the stars. We are no longer merely inhabitants of Earth. We are emerging members of a cosmic community. The choices we make next will define our place in the universe for millennia to come. As the seventh transmission ended, humanity gazed at the night sky with new understanding. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were nodes in a living web of life, consciousness, and connection. And for the first time, humans knew that their story was being written not only on Earth but across the universe itself. The eighth and final transmission from the Veylith arrived not with urgency but with calm certainty. It was a message that reflected not only guidance but also a recognition. Humanity had reached a turning point. The Veylith's voice resonated across every channel of communication, clear and steady, like a gentle tide washing over a planet long prepared to rise. Humans of Earth, the Veylith began. You have learned patience, foresight, cooperation, and responsibility. You have faced trials, observed patterns, and applied knowledge ethically. Now you stand ready to participate consciously in the web of civilizations. This is both your reward and your challenge. For centuries, humanity had looked to the stars with longing, imagining unknown worlds and distant intelligence. Now, the Veylith made it clear that this was no longer imagination. The web was real, and humanity was a part of it. Do not mistake participation for ease, the Veylith cautioned. The web is dynamic. Every action has consequences. You will encounter civilizations at different stages of development, some cooperative, some dangerous. Your choices will ripple across space and time. Wisdom, ethics, and foresight are your tools, more vital than any technology. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. Quantum communication hubs now linked Earth to distant nodes across the galaxy. Humans were learning to resonate with alien thought patterns, sharing knowledge, art, and philosophy with civilizations they had once thought unimaginable. The resonance of your species is strong, the Veylith continued. Your creativity, compassion, and persistence are recognized across the web. You have inherited the continuity of life that was preserved through guidance and observation. You are not alone in your vigilance, nor are you the first to reach this stage, but your choices now will define the legacy of Earth. The message shifted from cosmic philosophy to personal reflection. The Veylith urged humans to recognize the depth of their own history, the triumphs, the failures, the acts of kindness and cruelty that had rippled outward, shaping the trajectory of life on their world and beyond. 10,000 years of observation have recorded your story, the Veylith said. Every civilization has its lessons, but few are given the opportunity to reflect, learn, and consciously shape the future. You have this opportunity. Treat it with reverence. Your actions echo far beyond your comprehension. Humanity responded not in words alone but in action. Social structures, politics, science, and culture had already shifted toward the principles taught by the Veylith. Decisions now considered long-term consequences, ethical responsibility, and ecological resonance as fundamental priorities. For the first time, humans approached not only governance but existence itself as participants in a universal network. We watched you grow, the Veylith concluded. We guided, intervened subtly, and revealed truths when the time was right. Now you stand as equals in observation, wisdom, and action. You may continue to stumble, falter, or make mistakes, but you do so consciously, aware of the threads that bind you to the cosmos. Your story, your legacy, and your resonance are yours to shape. The final images of the transmission showed Earth as a radiant node, glowing with life and energy. Threads of light connected the planet to other civilizations, pulsing in harmony with every choice humanity made. The vision was clear, the web of life was vast, intricate, and alive, and humanity had been invited to walk among its nodes, not as observers, but as contributors. Dr. Alara Morgan addressed the world one last time regarding the Veylith's message. We have been watched for 10,000 years. We have been guided, taught, and tested. And now, we are awake to our role in the universe. The stars are not distant, they are connected to us, and we are connected to them. The choices we make today, tomorrow, and for generations to come will ripple across the web. Our responsibility is immense, but so is our potential. We are no longer just inhabitants of Earth, we are participants in a living, conscious cosmos. As the transmission ended, silence fell over the planet. It was not fear that gripped humanity, but awe. For the first time, humans understood their place in the universe, not as masters, nor as victims, but as conscious, ethical participants in a network that spanned light years and millennia. The Veylith had watched Earth for 10,000 years, yet their message was simple. The future belonged to those who acted with wisdom, foresight, and compassion. And now, humanity would write its own chapter among the stars. The night sky seemed to shimmer differently after that final transmission. Stars were no longer merely distant suns, they were living connections, threads in a web that pulsed with life and intelligence. And in that web, Earth had found its place. For the first time, humanity gazed at the cosmos and truly understood. The story was theirs to shape.